bit from Chief Ducharme as well, and after that we'll forward some questions to the chief. My understanding is that the family does not wish to take questions today. I was informed of that before. If you do change your mind, let Heidi know, and she will get a hold of me accordingly during the conduction of the media interviews. Okay, so with that in mind, can we get the Tate family to go ahead with their statement?
I was just going to quickly share, Philip. I was going to just introduce the family and Chief Ducharme. We had a quick little meeting before we got started here, so I'd like to just thank everybody for coming today. I know this is a really difficult time for the family and the community, and we're here today because the family and the leadership, we want to share a message, and talk about Noreen's life as well. That it's really important to continue to send strong messages, when this type of violence occurs in our communities, because it doesn't just affect the family, it impacts an entire community. And we've been working with and supporting the Tate family for about a week now, and we're going to continue supporting them. So I just wanted to take the time to share that and introduce Arla and family that are here right now, and she's going to speak and share the statement, and then Chief Ducharme will also share after. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was Heidi Spence. She's our manager for our missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls unit. So without further ado, could we get Arla to issue her statement? Thank you.
On February 19th, 2023, Noreen Ruth Tait was violently assaulted in Opequonepiwin Cree Nation, otherwise known as South Indian Lake, Manitoba. Noreen was a beautiful Indigenous woman who was cruelly and violently taken from her children, mother, grandchildren, family, and friends, and community. On February 21st, 2023, Noreen passed on into the spirit world. She was surrounded by her loved ones, and her death is being investigated as a homicide. When you think of Noreen, remember her smiling face and happiness and her love for her family and community. She was kind to everyone she met and had an outgoing personality. Noreen loved music and was always singing. She had a beautiful voice. She enjoyed spending quality time with family and friends. Noreen had the right to safety and security within her community of Opequonepiwin Cree Nation. The homicide of a family member is very traumatic. There are so many mixed feelings: shock, anger, depression, all together, so many mixed emotions, creating deeply rooted emotional wounds for loved ones left behind. The loss of Noreen has left a huge void in our hearts, and in place of her presence, the senseless way her life was cruelly taken is difficult to comprehend and devastating to the family. We'll keep her memory alive as we navigate our grief and honor her life. The voice of Noreen will not be silenced. As her family, we will champion her voice, calling her for change and supports for OPCN. OPCN, South Indian Lake, is a remote, isolated community situated about 1,100 kilometers from Winnipeg. There have been an increase in critical incidents of violence resulting in homicides and an alarming increase of domestic violence incidents. OPCN citizens are experiencing mental health crises, addictions, homelessness, food insecurity, inadequate health care, and a lack of access to safe drinking water. OPCN does not have the critical resources needed to create pathways for the safety and security of Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirit individuals. It is imperative that adequate resources are available directly on the ground in the community through long-term and sustainable funding. Capacity has to be built in the community and services delivered directly in the community, not satellite services. The impact of these services must be felt on the ground and delivered through a cultural lens. As the family of Noreen Tait, we call on all levels of government, including Indigenous governments, to take immediate action and provide emergency resources to OPCN to prevent any further loss of life and for OPCN citizens to live a life with dignity, substantive equality, equity, and safety. Inequality results in the loss of human lives, and we cannot allow this genocide to continue. Story upon story, I hear about the lack of RCMP supports and services in not only my home community, but all First Nations communities. My sister had many struggles to navigate through as an Indigenous woman. From Opeponepiwinik, she was an intergenerational survivor of the residential school system, in which both of her parents attended. She was born during the time of a devastating upheaval of our community from the Churchill River Diversion Project, which flooded our land, our homes, and our way of life. She struggled with many losses and poor health. She had 2 strokes in her lifetime and still managed to make the best of her situation with a beautiful voice and a beaming smile that resonated with undying love and hope for all who were blessed with her presence. Thank you.
Thank you. We'd like to thank the Tate family for that statement. Up next, we have Chief Ducharme of the Opeponepiwin Cree Nation with his statement, and she will be taking questions after. Can I ask that people raise their hands if they're going to be asking a question? We're also going to allow some time for the media assembled in Thompson to ask their questions, and we're going to see whether or not we're going to give them first crack at it because I can't see them. So we'll get the assembled media in Thompson to be the first crack at questions. And then we'll go with our friends here on Zoom Media. Chief, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Do you have a prepared statement, or are you just going to take questions?
No, I do have something here.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Chief Shirley Ducharme, Opeponepiwin Cree Nation, on behalf of Chief and Council and also members of our First Nation, I extend our deepest condolences with this tragic loss of Noreen. I know it's been stated that this is not the first member we lost so tragically. I know within the past 2 years, our community has lost 3 members through severity of assaults causing death. Our whole community, our First Nation, is in mourning with this tragic loss of our loved one. But I think what's the urgent need right now to ease the loss of the family member is justice for these families. It's very painful to see and hear the mixed emotions caused by all this. They need justice for their loved ones. This prolonged injustice causes more pain and sends a barrier for healing to begin. Our First Nation is in crisis. The severity of these assaults in our community is becoming very too common. Matter of fact, mental health issues, suicidal ideations happens quite frequently. All these issues, problems stem from alcohol and drugs. Our community needs to heal in a healthy way. And I'm so glad, what Arla has stated. These are some of the resources that are so critical to begin to heal our community. We see that drugs and alcohol are being used to relieve pain, but it is only a temporary relief because that's how our people are right now. We need to understand and begin to heal by first knowing the intergenerational impacts of past trauma. We all know that. Again, all First Nations are facing with this through genocide, residential school, and especially our community. No one knows, even reaching out to governments and ministers. You don't know the impacts of the Churchill River flooding has done to our community. There is the stem of the problems, why our people are this way. And I hope that we can be listened to. We try so hard, but it's time, the ministers and the governments wake up. And, quit not accepting why our community is this way. There's already too many losses in life. I think that needs to stop. In understanding these impacts, this is the path we need to take to begin our healing journey from all these past traumatic experiences. And it will take a lot of lobbying from our government, OPCN council. But definitely, we do need the urgent resources. Igusani, thank you for listening.
I'd like to thank Chief Ducharme for her comments. Joining us is also MKO's Vice Chief, David Monias. Chief Monias is also Chief of the Pimicikamak Cree Nation at Cross Lake, Manitoba. Welcome, Chief, to the gathering. And next, we'll go with the assembled media in Thompson have any questions for Chief Ducharme. They're welcome to ask them now. Of course, I can't see what's going on in Thompson, so
yeah,
behind the camera. So yeah, can they hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. If you have any questions, you feel free to ask them now.
Ducharme, you mentioned earlier that you've been looking trying to advocate towards the federal government in regards to getting these resources. Could you speak more to the specific resources that you need and what the specific response has been from various federal departments?
One of the things that really comes to mind is just not too long ago, this Churchill River diversion license was finalized by the governments, and we were opposed to it. Our nation was opposed to it because we know this is 40 years now going that we continually are, seeing these impacts, the loss of our lands, the washing away of the land. The total economy from our fishing industry has been depleted. Our fathers, grandfathers suffered this impact. They could no longer have the rich economy that they used to have. And that's one of the biggest things that we tried to lobby, but nobody listened. They went ahead to issue that license. But we are still, fighting. We are, going to probably be in court soon. This is one of the things that has great impacts. Our total social well-being of our whole nation has been impacted in all this. And that's one of the stems of this alcohol and drug abuse. The children now, these future generations, they don't know the beauty that was lost in our nation. And it's ongoing. We don't have enough nursing staff. They are overwhelmed with these medefacts and all these mental issues. They're still not sufficient. We are lucky we get 2 nurses, but they are burned out too. It's there. And we continue to cry out for, more nurses. It's overwhelming. Even the number of violence stats that are provided to us with our CMP, it's shocking. And we don't have the resources. We don't have a wellness center for our people to heal. They wait months and months before there is an opening for treatment. Our people are still wanting to heal, to get treatment, but they have to wait 3 months, 6 months down the line before there's an opening here in Thompson or even in Nelson House. And that's another struggle. There is not that immediate resources there for them to seek the help they need.
Okay, does our media in Thompson have any further questions for the chief?
Yes, I have a question. What is is there a full-time RCMP presence in South Indian Lake? And how many officers are stationed there?
There are 4 that rotate, 2 and 2 rotation.
Do you think it's sufficient, or is it?
No. The other thing that I'll point out here is for so many years we never had RCMP, and to a point where we spoke out when we first got in as chief and council. That was 2018. We spoke out. I know that they had been talks, and we lobbied to get the RCMP there. And now there is the detachment is there. But again, our people, the other problem is our people don't trust the RCMP because there's a lot of things that are why mistrust is happening. And I think the other reason why there is the escalation of the violence that built, because it took 2 hours for RCMP to respond to a call. The detachment was in Leaf Rapids. So it was only in 2018 or 19 we got the RCMP in our community. But now that it's just, when we started lobbying, saying we need the urgency of having RCMP here because things seem to become a norm. These acts were not reported, nothing. But now when we look at the monthly stats, it's just overwhelming. And I would say, with the RCMP that are there, it is an overwhelming, for them to also try and help with the number of violence calls that they get.
To follow up on Ian's question, has Chief and Council prior to the RCMP explored options of having a First Nations police agency within the community?
Yes, we have. And that's that's another thing that we are very, not too many of our members are willing to take the role of being safety officers, First Nations safety officers. We do have one, and there was two that were in training. The one is continuing the training right now.
Thank you.
Just, I guess, not only on the family, but on the whole community, like what does it sort of impact when someone loses their life in this way, like due to violence? Like what effect does that have on the people, close to them and who live there?
It affects everyone. We have a small community, First Nation, and it impacts everyone because it triggers everything, drama that's been experienced. It hits everyone. And just to give you an example, last night's vigil, the number of people that came to support the Tate and Dumas family was overwhelming. And then there was family members there that had recently experienced the loss of their members on this act of violence. They were there, and you could see the emotion, because there's one family here that hasn't received that justice too. The other thing is, let me bring in this right now while I remember, is we have court dates once a month. Today, they were supposed to be flying into our community. It's canceled. It's not going to happen the next day. We have to wait one more month. That's why I'm saying there is injustice. There is still one family waiting for this trial for the individual, and that has not happened. Like I say, once a month, and they cannot be rescheduled till the following month. Just imagine how many months now this family's been suffering, waiting for justice. There's so many injustices you guys don't know in our community.
Okay, do we have any further questions from the assembled media in Thompson?
I just want to add to that with your question. Mental health crises. It escalates when something like this happens. And a lot of people use alcohol and drugs because there are very limited resources in the community to be able to have an impact on people's health. So that further creates more problems.
Okay, thank you. We'll now take questions from media on Zoom. And I can unmute you if you'd like to ask a question. All right, hang on one second. As mentioned earlier, we do have with us Vice Chief, MKO Vice Chief David Monias, who is also Chief of the Pimachikamak Cree Nation, and we thank him for joining us today. Chief Monias, do you go ahead with your remarks?
All right, thank you very much. And first of all, my condolences to the Tate and Dumas family, and also to Chief Shirley Ducharme and your community, my condolences. This story is so disheartening to see that it's happening. And much like what the family and also Chief Ducharme have stated, this all stems from a lot of infiltration by drugs and alcohol into our communities. And because a lot of things that are happening in our communities, that a lot of people turn to these things to numb their pain, their trauma, and intergenerational trauma from residential school, 60 school, but all, you name it. But one of the things that's happening is that we have the safety officers in our communities. But I tell you, the safety officers, they're putting their lives at risk. They're the first responders in every case. And most of the time, they get sent in first, and then they don't have the armor to make sure they have safety vests that can stop bullets. They don't have guns with them. So they go in there trying to help out as much as they can, but it's just not enough. I mean, they're also getting paid the minimum wage compared to our CMP who's getting $90,000 as a starting salary. And these RCMP are being called to every situation in our communities, but there's lack of responses to those cries for help from our community members. And sometimes they come after the fact when somebody's been hurt or somebody's been killed, and that's when they come. And normally that's too late already. We need more preventative services for our communities. We need a lot of resources and help, especially for people who have suffer from mental health. There's no services for those people on reserve. You know, it's there's no special housing. There's no special programs for them. We have mental health therapists that come in maybe once every 2 weeks or something like that, and that's just not enough. There's just no resources for those people, and for people that are on the wait list for that are having to go for treatment and so forth, they have to wait until by the time they get the place to go to, they're all relapsed already, and it's too late. So we have to change the system as much as we can. And even when people get hurt, it's hard to take them to the nursing station or health centers because they're not well staffed either. Even for Pemichikamak, we're supposed to have up to 13.5 nurses. Right now we have 3, and that's just not enough. These people are working hard, and the government's not stepping up to make sure that we have enough nurses. They're not stepping up to make sure we have enough officers. And we need to make sure they have the right approach, right? We have to make sure that they respond to calls for help by people, not after the fact, but before, to make sure that they protect and serve, and protect their health and well-being. Because a lot of times they won't go, and if there's a complaint, it seems that the people who have criminal activities have more rights than there are people that are wanting that safety. So that's got to change. The environment and the discrimination and racism that exists in the system must change. I'm sorry to say it, but it exists in the system. And our people deserve better, and they should be provided with better, so we can stop these things from happening to our people, stop our women being murdered, stop our men from being murdered, and stop our children from being hurt and murdered as well. It has to happen, and the government has to make the necessary changes that we require. Anyways, thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Grand Chief, and my condolences to the Tate family and Dumas family again.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chief Monias, for your comments. Do the assembled media have any questions for MKO Vice Chief David Monias? Anybody from the media in Thompson have any questions for Vice Chief Monias? Okay, thank you very much. The assembled media also have my phone and email address if there's some other factoids that or questions they have after we sign off. So with that in mind, I guess that will conclude our media conference here today. We'd like to thank the assembled media for attending, both in person and online. And again, if you have any other further questions or I can be of service to you, don't hesitate to text or email or get in touch. We'd like to thank the Tate family for Arla for providing a statement from your family. I'd like to acknowledge your difficulties at this most tragic and difficult time, and we'd like to thank Chief Ducharme for attending and providing the perspective from her home community. And as well, one more thanks goes out to the MKO staff who made this media conference possible. There were a lot of working parts. So that will conclude our media conference for this afternoon. We'd like to wish everyone a pleasant afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.